Hi, we're Team Pivana, and we're going to be presenting Casa Reforma database. So to start, we're going to be presenting the biography, and the biography of Casa Reforma. Well, the owner of Casa Reforma is María de Lourdes Baltasar Gómez, which is Ivan's mom, and she started the colectivo Casa Reforma, which they receive items from other vendors and sell them in a colectivo, renting the space that the product occupies. Well, Casa Reforma is designed for a great variety of products, including jewelry, accessories, clothes, gifts, foods, and more stuff. They offer digital marketing to attract clients. And, well, they also have a coffee shop and a restaurant in the same space. They are located in Avenida Reforma, which intersects the Calle H with an ample parking space. They aren't open yet, thanks to the coronavirus. They were supposed to open before, but they couldn't, so it's not open yet. Well, to do a quick recap about what we talked about the last time that we presented. Well, the process that will be reflected in the database of the register of spaces and payments that the renters will make for them. What else? Well, that all of this we already talked before. Oh, and also about the factura and some sort of contract that you, Professor, told us that we have to ask. Well, yes, there will be a factura, but we're not going to include it in our project because it's not important for our database. So also, well, here are the spaces that will be available for the renters. One renter can be renting more than one space for their products, but the spaces can be shared by a renter, by more than two renters. Well, the payments will be done monthly, and they can be paid. The renters can pay more than 1 month at once. And we already talked about this before. Also, the classification of spaces. This is how we're going to be classifying all of the spaces that were the bazaar. So now we're going to talk about the entities, and Paulina will be doing that.
Okay, so there are three entities. The first one is the renters, and well, the renters are the ones that are gonna rent the spaces in the colectivo. And then payments, which is the money that will be given by the renters to pay for their spaces, and the spaces, that is the spot that will be given to the renters for them to sell their products. And then the other slide. The relationships and cardinality, we have two. The first one is renters lease spaces, and it is one-to-many because one renter can rent many spaces. And the second one is renters make payments, and it is also one-to-many because they can decide if they want to pay for like 2 months, they can do that, or if they just want to pay for 1 month, they can also do that. So it's one-to-many. And the attributes and keys, we have renters, and the attributes are the ID, the name, the telephone, email, active, which means if they're still a client or not, and the days overdue, which means which will tell you how many days have passed since they made their last payment. And then we have payments. We will have a payment number, the payment date, the start date, the end date, the type, which means if they paid in cash or with a credit card, and the amount. And we have spaces, which will have a code, the section number, a description, and if it's occupied or not. And then, well, here we have the year diagram, which basically shows the relationships between the entities and the cardinality. And yes, that's it.
So up next, we have the normalization process that we follow. Here we can see that there is the renters table, the spaces table, and the payments table. So as one can observe, we have normalization in the first form and in the second form. This due to the fact that all of these values were considered to be atomic, and more than that, there was no composite key that we had to consider, since renter's ID, since the code for the space and the payment number were all just a unique primary key. So at least for the first two normalization orders, we already had them in place. And up next, we had the third normalization process. So for the third normal form, that was where we did have to take out some attributes from the renters table and place them in another table. This is due to the fact that for the last date, over here we can see the new table which was formed, which is table renter payments. In that part, we had renters last date, which will be the last date they have to pay, and until what date they have acquired the space, and the renters OV, which is renters overdue. So in case that they have not paid, that would be the attribute that will indicate how many days they have not paid and how long they have gone over what they were already allotted in terms of time. So this, since it depends on both the payment and the ID, that is why it was placed in another table. So here, in the relational model, we can see at the end how we related all of them, and at the end you have a more specific and a more clear way in which this information can then be passed over to the database. So we have that table for the spaces, which has various attributes that will later be which will be clarified. We have the renters table, the payments table, and the table that we formed during the third normal form, which is the table that relates the renter, the payments, to get the days of they are overdue.
Then we have the acronyms. I'm gonna quickly tell you about them. The first one is, well, the space code. Then we have the space section, the space description, the space occupied, and the renter's ID. And then we have another table which will tell you the payment end date, the renter's ID, and the days overdue.
And then we have the one that corresponds to the renter's table, which has also the renter's ID, the renter's name, his phone number, email, and if it's an active renter or not. And we have the one that corresponds to payment. So in there we can have the payment number, which would basically be a sort of an ID for the payment, the date in which it was paid, the start date for the period for which the payment corresponds, the end date for said period, the payment type, and finally the amount and renter's ID, which would then relate it to the renter's table. So until now, that is what we as a project and for the Casa Reforma database, this is what we have, and that is our project.
Okay. Bye.